Maverick traders, welcome out to your market roundup for December 5th. Corey here with you. We're always going to go through meaningful news that happened today, and today there was something meaningful in crypto world. We're going to talk about sector rotation. We're going to talk about the best bullish, sideways, or bearish trade opportunities.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional stock and option traders. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
So as we look at what happened today in the markets, we hit a psychological number in crypto. So Dow was down 0.5%, S&P and NASDAQ really flat, IWM down 1%, and that's more of a broad-based indicator, right? More of what the majority of stocks are doing. So it was kind of an ugly day that way. Gold and oil relatively flat, but the daily news was important. Bitcoin hit this psychological mark, and this is something the markets have been working up towards. We'd been basing and had just stopped just shy of that. And it speaks to risk on. It speaks to the fact that there's excess capital. There's capital that wants to go into higher leveraged and higher risk type of positioning that way. And that speaks to kind of this animal spirits that people are willing to take on more and more risk. Advanced decline line, 60% of stocks down today. Like we said, more selling than buying. And the 50-period moving average remains with almost 2/3 of stocks going up or in an upward trend. Now, if we look at the S&P, I did the market roundup on Mondays as per usual, covering for Ankit today, but I talked about if there's a nice big day, be it up or down, expect a bit of a reversal on the back of that. So I still expect, I'm not surprised today's reversal, and I'd expect a little follow through here, maybe back towards this 6,000 mark. I think we get a little selling coming into the markets. Look at the NASDAQ. This was yesterday, which is the big day we talked about. You include the gap plus the move higher. It was sharply higher. Now we're seeing the reversal, and it's actually kind of perfect that this corresponds with crypto hitting that psychological number. I suspect that was kind of a stay long, stay bullish. We're going to go up and hit that number, and that's a good point to take risk off the table and go ahead and take some profits and so on. So it's a little bit of a psychological number for just broader markets, and I think the fact that these things turn down, stocks like MSTR, which are so heavily leveraged to Bitcoin, sharply lower on the day, on a day when Bitcoin hit its biggest number ever, that's a little bit of when it can't go up when it should be, right? On a really good news type of scenario and it sells off, that is a market tell. There is some profit taking that wants to take place. I would expect some back and fill here for the shorter term. Now, if you look at the heat map, as we said, a little bit more red than green. Now, United Health held up well yesterday. Their CEO, you've heard the news, got gunned down in New York City. Well, the surprise was maybe that it was up yesterday. It's having a worse day today. And I think this speaks to now you start to get worried about the news and what type of skeletons are in the closet. Might there be corporate risk? Might there be people pointing to, hey, the reason this person was motivated is because of their business practices or whatever. Now, I'm not suggesting for even a moment that this was justified in any way, shape, or form, right? I'm just saying that, well, all of a sudden it adds some elements of risk to that corporation that weren't there before. Certainly a sad story. Tesla, sharply higher. You can see in the semiconductor space and software space, some brighter red mixed in there. So I would anticipate, again, over the next week or so, we're going to start seeing more red than green across the board. I expect an equities pullback. I had talked about this. When you see that little flush, that little mini exhaustion type of dynamic, that for me is where I would start to lighten up and start to really even position for a little bit of a downturn. So I would go from bullish to bearish, and yesterday was the trigger point for that, as we had discussed and laid out that idea on Monday. So let's talk about some bulls and bears. Of course, I'm less inclined to be excited about anything on the bull list. I'm more inclined to be excited about things on the bear list. But as always, there's really opportunities in both directions. If you want to go long, things that are breaking out on volume are really the candidates, right? Now, would you be worried about some back and fill and some giving back if the markets sell off? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't expect it to just do quite as well if, in fact, the markets pull down. It might pull this right along with it, but looks better. And then U, letter U, these are both in the same space. Unity Software, Roblox, they're competitors, but same type of price action, breaking out on volume. If you're going to trade something to the upside, well, there's some candidates for it. But I'm a little bit more excited about some of the bearish ideas. Here's Dow Chemical, symbol DOW. You can see it's breaking down on some volume as well. And again, I think can just continue to fall, and the market's falling could help right along with that. MCHP, microchip technology, breaking down on increased volume, and I'd expect some momentum and some follow through out of that type of name. So there's always going to be some bull markets and bear markets in various places, but I'd be a little more inclined right now, for me personally anyway, this is where I would make a little bit of a shift, and this is only for the short-term trader. If you're intermediate, longer term, if you're looking out a month, 2 months, what happens over the next week may not matter that much to you, right? But if you're looking at over the short term, over the next week or so, and you think the markets could pull back 2, 3, maybe even 4%, something like that as a possibility, well, maybe you want to add a bear or two. So as we pointed out on Monday, a little bit of a mini exhaustion, we feel like yesterday, and then Bitcoin hitting 100K. Look, it's psychological. It's take profits when we hit these key numbers, and when it's sort of a buy the rumor, sell the news type of dynamic. Buy until we hit that key number, and then lighten up on everything across the board. Take some risk off, maybe even position for a downside move. Now that the news has come out, now that that key level has been hit, there may be a little bit more defensiveness coming into the markets. And we've got payrolls tomorrow. It's interesting. I mean, their justification for why the markets did this or that always comes from television and newspapers and so on. So regardless of what the payrolls come out at, if the market sells off, they'll say, oh, the market didn't like the payrolls number. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the payrolls number. Maybe the market's going to sell off anyway for technical reasons, psychological reasons, just some profit taking and defensive posturing. So one would think if the payrolls are going to influence some of the behavior, though, that maybe a good, big, strong payrolls might be bad for stocks, because the takeaway would be, well, maybe the Fed's not going to cut as aggressively because payrolls are still strong and the economy's holding up. And if payrolls are good, then they're not as worried about that, and they might be worried more about inflation and so on. So it's sort of a, again, I'm not so sure the payrolls number tomorrow makes a big impact. I think there's just going to be selling, and of course, they're going to try to link the two together. Whether that's justified or not, you can make up your own mind on that. But I'd expect a little more follow through selling. Watch Monday's market roundup for kind of the idea of why we were waiting for a little bit of an exhaustion signal to expect that reversal. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Have a great week, a great weekend coming up, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.